Hi everyone, it's Mary here from Markree Woolcraft. A long time since we last did anything for YouTube, but here we are again. So today I'm going back to doing a little bit about carding with you on the Drumcarder. Basically because I think a little bit needs to be explained about using the Drumcarder. So I have some wool from a local farmer. It's from a sheep called Clin, which is a commercial type breed, and I get the wool from him, and he keeps the wool off the shearlings, which are the first time the sheep have been shorn when they're just over a year old. Now, I'm just doing this to just talk about the carder and what its purpose is. The purpose of the carder is to align your fibres to make it easier to spin or to felt. It is not designed to open the fibres up, to untangle the fibres, and if you use it to do that, you will damage your carder. So the first thing we have to do is what we call picking, which is when we get a lump of fleece like that, and we open the fibres up. And while we're doing that, we can remove any short bits, any kind of bits like that I'm going to open up, and these wonderful little beetles which seem to live in harmony with the sheep, and I always would be in handy to throw it, and any of course short bits like that, because they don't spin easily and they just pop out when you've spun. So you want your fleece nice and open. So this is a electric Drumcarder, which really is exactly the same as if you turn the handle, but it just keeps going. And I have it open like this, so you can see what happens. This, I have to keep my foot on it, otherwise it stops. So basically you're going to feed it in the fibres in here. I always have a bin quite handy to me, so I can throw the bits on it. And it's best if you can, it doesn't matter so much, but you find it will card better if you can put them in. That's the tip end, and that's the butt end where it's cut off the sheep. You can put them in that way around, but it doesn't matter. And you can see here that I've got very, very little fibre on the board as it's going in. Don't overload it. It's very, very tempting, to overload it and put too much in at once, and that will strain your machine, and it doesn't do such a good job, and it also damage your carding cloth. And again, the same thing if you put bits in that aren't properly picked. You will damage the fibre on the cloth, carding cloth, and you will pull those little tines out, which you don't want to do. See, another little bit come out. Just picking this as I go, and usually I would have picked it before I start, but just to show you. There's a lovely piece now there, lovely example. So as I said, the carder, it both aligns the fibre and it also mixes, if you want to blend colours together or something like that, it does that as well. And you see here, pull the lump out if I can. This is quite uneven in its colour. I don't know if that will show up on the video. So if you want to unify, by the end it's time it's carded, you won't see that. You actually won't be able to see that. It'll all blended together. And as I said, you can use this for aligning the fibres, and also for blending different colours, different shades, and different types of fleece as well. So you might be blending alpaca with wool, silk with wool, anything really you want to blend together. But the thing is not to feed too much, and not to have it so that it's not nicely pulled apart, nicely picked, what we call picked. There we go. You see it's quite slow. It's only just starting to build up on the back. And this we call the licker, the front one that picks it up. Just gently takes it in and it deposits then onto the back drum, all lined up. The other thing you need to do really is not to overload it, the back drum either. And it's much easier also, when I say overload it, because it's much easier if you let that build up, so it's full enough to hold together then, and to take it off the back drum, it's easier. I can blend fibers so much on this Drumcarder, put it through again and again. I could put through a yellow coloured fibre mixed and mix it with blue, and I put it through maybe 3 or 4 times, and I will get a green wool at the end. If you want to make a colour that's just slowly blending from yellow to blue, going through green, you can do that on your carder here by just blending different proportions of the yellow and the blue. Okay, so now I'm just this is getting fairly full, so just put the last of it through. And just one other thing I've just forgot to say at the beginning of the last one, or this video, it's quite important you don't, if you're twisting the handle or you've got an electric one, that you don't put it on too fast. Very tempting to think, oh, I'm going to get this all done really quickly. But if you put this going too fast, or you turn the handle very fast, you can very easily make the fibres make little knots. So if you're patient and run it a little bit slowly, it's less inclined to do that. Now you can see now it's beginning to lump up on the back. Make sure it's all up onto the, gone through, because you don't want any on the licker, and you stop it. We've got our brushes here that just packs down the fibres onto the back drum, and so you can get more onto your back drum. Particularly with this model, if you don't have that down, you'll get very, very little on the back drum. It'll fill up really quickly if you don't have that packer on. You see how it's very dirty, and also because I use some wool with a bit of lanolin in it, you can see the lanolin's built up there a little bit. Probably not the best thing for your carder, but stop it there when you've got this. Lift the brushes, very important, and then we're going to take this off, just lifting it off gradually. This is just dyed actually with an acid dye. Just pull it down like that, and then we'll put it onto reverse. So it's important to remember to put the brushes up, otherwise they get caught up in this. And then lift it off. If you take this off and there isn't very much fibre on, it hasn't sort of held together enough, and you're going to leave a lot of the fibre on the drum. Just leave a little bit, but don't worry about that. That's what it looks like, but I'm going to put that through again, believe it or not, although that is quite nicely done, but just so much easier to work with if it's properly carded. Even for felting, it just makes it easier. No lumps in it. I'm going to again have it open so you can see it going through. What I do is I take off bits like that, spread them out like that. Any lumps you can take out if you want to. Happen to feel them rather than see them. There she goes. You probably put it through a little bit faster this time if you want. But again, don't put it too fast, because otherwise you end up with you'll be making those. And the finer your wool, the slower you need to card it. You can see the board quite clearly in those places here, and that's what you need to be able to do, is actually see through to the board. Otherwise you're putting too much in at once. Certainly if you're spinning and you want a really smooth spin, the better carded you have it, a really even spin, the better carded you have it, better prepared it is at this stage, the more likely you are to have an even spin. I do a lot of fibre preparation. I have what's called a picker here. It's extremely vicious machine, so just be very careful when you're using it. Don't put your hands into it. Okay, and again we have the same thing here. If you don't want to put too much in at once, otherwise it just gets passed through the whole thing without having anything done to it. So again, and this just speeds up the picking, although I would, as I'm feeding it into the machine, probably just make sure there's nothing left if I only put it through the picker once. Nothing lumpy left in it. And there we go, right. So we have it like that, just at the edge, and then rock it like that. You can get quite small ones as well as this, doing smaller quantities. But if you're only doing small amounts of fibre, it's quite therapeutic to sit in front of your television of an evening picking fleece. I find it does anyway. See how it's coming out now, fast end. And you know, you could have this, if the table's a bit short, you could even have a big box at the bottom, at the end of it, just to catch it. It's all much more fluffed up. You can see kind of the difference. Oh, much more open. There you go. And you can put it through twice if you want to, if you think it's needed. But I find that you've got time to pull those last bits out. And also if you do it by hand a little bit, you can just take, it gives you the opportunity to take the small pieces out, which you're not going to if you push it up, just put it straight through off that. Finished our carding, the drum carding for today? I think so. Hopefully you've picked up a few tips, but and save the life of your drum carder if you do it correctly. Thank you.